Are you struggling to open Crystal reports on your 64-bit machine while it works perfectly on your 32-bit setup? You're not alone, and today, we're going to tackle this frustrating issue together. I completely understand how frustrating it can be when your reports work fine on one machine but fail on another. This is a common problem many users face, especially when transitioning from 32-bit to 64-bit systems. Let's dive into the specifics of your situation. You mentioned that your reports work on a 32-bit machine, but won't open on your 64-bit setup. You also noted that you need 64-bit due to memory issues. Let's explore this together. So, what could be causing this issue? It could be related to the version of Crystal reports you're using, the target framework, or even how your application is set up. Let's break it down step by step. Stay with me until the end, because I have a crucial tip that could save you a lot of headaches when working with Crystal reports. To begin resolving the issue with Crystal reports not opening on a 64-bit machine, the user should first ensure that the correct version of Crystal reports is installed. It's important to confirm that the installation is compatible with the 64-bit architecture. Next, the user should check the application configuration. Specifically, they need to ensure that the application is targeting the correct framework version. The user should confirm that the target framework is set to 4.6.2 or higher. The user should also verify the settings in the web.config file. It's crucial to include the line that enables legacy runtime activation. This can help resolve compatibility issues with Crystal reports. Additionally, the user should ensure that the data tables being used are consistent across both x86 and x64 environments. They can do this by comparing the data tables saved in XML format to confirm they are identical. Finally, if the issue persists, the user should check for any missing dependencies or DLL files. They can use a tool like Process Monitor to track file access and identify any errors related to missing files. Fun fact, did you know that the first version of Crystal reports was released back in 1991? It's come a long way since then, but some issues still persist. Now let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative solution from another user suggests adding a specific configuration to your app.config file. They recommend including the line, Use Legacy v2 Runtime Activation Policy set to true. This might help resolve compatibility issues with Crystal reports on 64-bit machines. The user also mentions that the error could indicate that the dataset or data table is not set correctly when used in the report object. They suggest putting a breakpoint to check if the data table is properly set before calling setDataSource. Now, let's see a response from a different user. An alternative solution from another user suggests installing the 32-bit version of Crystal reports, even if your machine is 64-bit. They mention that their own 64-bit machine runs the 32-bit version without any issues. Now, let's see a response from a different user. An alternative solution from another user suggests ensuring you have the latest Service Pack installed. They recommend using Service Pack 19, which has worked well for them. Additionally, if you're using a WPF application with the Crystal Reports viewer, make sure to include a specific setting in your app.config file to avoid issues. Let's take a look at another answer from another user. An alternative solution shared by another user addresses the issue with Crystal reports on 64-bit machines. They found that the problem is related to .NET Framework 4.6, which creates a unique folder path for the Crystal Reports viewer in IIS. This issue can occur on various Windows versions, including Windows 10 and Windows Server 2016. To resolve this, the user suggests updating the web.config file to include the correct version of the framework and copying the Crystal Reports viewer folder to the new path in the ASP.NET Client directory. This workaround is necessary due to changes in the .NET Framework versioning. The user also mentions that developers are aware of this issue and plan to provide a fix in Service Pack 16. For more updates and downloads, they recommend visiting the SAP community links provided. That's the end of that answer. Let's see another perspective. An alternative solution from another user suggests checking your data source connections. They recommend ensuring that you don't have any 32-bit connections in your Crystal Report data source. They also mention that if you've installed both 32-bit and 64-bit Crystal Reports runtimes, it might be beneficial to replace any 32-bit MDB and DAO with a dataset. This change resolved a similar issue for them. Here's a pro tip. Always keep your Crystal Reports and Visual Studio updated to the latest versions. This can prevent many compatibility issues in the future. And there you have it. By following these steps, you should be able to resolve the issue with Crystal Reports not opening on your 64-bit machine. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more troubleshooting tips.